on each side.
UFC 320 took a terrifying turn when Khalil Rountree, one of the most feared strikers in the division, was left motionless after a brutal knockout. This was supposed to be a showcase, a fight to push Rountree closer to title contention, but instead, it ended in a way no fighter or fan ever wants to see. Within seconds of the knockout, social media lit up, the crowd went quiet, and everyone watching asked the same thing: is he okay? In this video, we'll walk through every detail: the knockout itself, the medical response, and the latest updates on Rountree's condition. So stick around, because this isn't just another post-fight recap. This is the story behind one of the most chilling moments of UFC 320. When Jiri Prochazka landed that left hand in the third round, it wasn't just a knockout. It was a thunderous, fight-ending shot that instantly silenced the entire arena. The crowd had been electric all night, but when Rountree hit the canvas face first, you could feel the air leave the building. Everyone knew right away this wasn't your typical KO. The referee jumped in immediately, waving off the fight at the 3:04 mark of round 3. Rountree wasn't moving. The cameras cut away as medical staff rushed in, and Jiri, showing real class, backed off quietly instead of celebrating. The scene got heavy, fast. Even veteran fans could feel the tension. When a fighter stays down that long, it's a chilling reminder of how unforgiving this sport can be. Moments later, officials confirmed that Rountree was being transported to a nearby hospital in Las Vegas for a precautionary CT scan of his head and face. The UFC takes concussions and brain trauma seriously, and this was one of those situations where it's always better to be safe than sorry. Thankfully, the early reports suggested it was precautionary. No life-threatening injuries, but everyone wanted answers. So what exactly happened in those final moments? Rountree had looked solid early on. His jab was crisp, his kicks sharp, and for 2 rounds, he arguably had the edge. But Jiri Prochazka is built for chaos. Even when he's down on the scorecards, he's dangerous every second he's conscious. In the third round, Jiri flipped the switch, the same way he's done to so many top-tier fighters before. He started pressing forward, using his unorthodox movement to bait Rountree into exchanges. Once Rountree slowed, the openings appeared. First came a spinning elbow that sliced him open, then a knee to the body that drained what was left of his gas tank. Seconds later, Jiri launched a left hand straight on the jaw, clean, devastating, and final. Rountree dropped forward, face first, and that's when the entire tone of the fight changed. After the bout, UFC medical staff followed all post-fight concussion protocols. Fighters often experience temporary disorientation or memory loss after knockouts like that, and Rountree was no exception. Being taken to the hospital isn't necessarily a sign of severe injury. It's standard after a knockout that looks that bad. But the sheer brutality of the finish left fans genuinely concerned. At 35 years old, Rountree has built a reputation as one of the scariest strikers in the division. But even the best strikers eventually get caught. This time, it was just the perfect storm: fatigue, timing, and Jiri's unpredictable power. The good news? Early updates indicated that Rountree regained consciousness quickly and was responsive on his way to the hospital. UFC officials later confirmed he was stable and recovering well. But make no mistake, this was a hard moment for everyone watching. It's a reminder that beneath the lights, behind the hype and the headlines, these fighters are risking everything each time they step inside that cage. And for Khalil Rountree, that night ended not with his hand raised, but with his safety and his future as the only thing that mattered. Thankfully, the early reports out of the hospital confirmed that Khalil Rountree was conscious, alert, and recovering, a huge relief for fans and fighters alike. But once everyone knew he was okay, the focus quickly shifted to the next big question: what exactly led to that knockout? Because if you watched the first 2 rounds, Rountree didn't look outmatched. In fact, he was doing a lot right. His jab was working, his leg kicks were sharp, and he managed to slow Jiri Prochazka's movement, something few fighters have been able to do. But with Jiri, the danger is never over. Even when he looks calm, he's calculating, waiting for that one tiny opening to flip the fight on its head. For nearly 10 minutes, Rountree controlled the pace. He pressured with smart combinations, forced Jiri to reset, and kept his guard tight. But early in the third round, fatigue began to show. His movement slowed just enough for Prochazka to read him. That's all Jiri needs, a single moment of hesitation. Prochazka started switching his approach, mixing in kicks, spinning elbows, and unpredictable angles that kept Rountree guessing. Then came the shift. A hard knee to the body pushed Rountree backward, forcing him to cover up instead of counter. His hands came up just a little too high, leaving a clear lane for Jiri's left hand. And when it landed, it was textbook precision. A perfectly timed short left hook that connected flush on the chin. Rountree fell forward instantly, lights out before he hit the canvas. It wasn't a wild swing or a lucky shot. It was all setup, pressure, body damage, timing, and the kind of patience that only elite finishers possess. What makes Jiri's style so dangerous is how unpredictable it is. He fights like controlled chaos, spinning, feinting, never showing the same rhythm twice. Rountree's biggest challenge wasn't power. It was pattern. Every time he thought he had Jiri figured out, the former champ changed tempo. It's what makes him so hard to prepare for and so devastating when he finds his moment. But to Rountree's credit, he didn't fold under the pressure. He survived countless exchanges, landed good shots of his own, and had Prochazka hurt at times. The fight could have gone either way until that final shift in the third round. It was a small mistake, a missed read, but against someone like Jiri, that's all it takes. The knockout itself wasn't just a matter of power. It was a masterclass in timing and fight IQ. Jiri read the moment perfectly, and Rountree, exhausted from 2 grueling rounds, didn't have the reaction time to recover. And while that one punch changed everything, it also set up a bigger question, not about how it happened, but what happens next. Because after a loss like this, especially one that ends in a hospital trip, every fighter faces the same crossroads. Where do you go from here? That's exactly where everyone's attention turned once the chaos settled. What's next for Khalil Rountree after a knockout like that? Because this wasn't just another loss. This was the kind of defeat that forces a fighter to pause, to step back, and decide what comes next, both physically and mentally. Rountree had come into UFC 320 with real momentum. He was ranked inside the top 5, coming off a huge win over Jamahal Hill, and had finally put himself within striking distance of another title shot. 1 fight away, maybe 2. Then, in an instant, everything changed. After a knockout like that, the first priority is always recovery. The body heals, but it's the mind that often takes longer. Fighters don't like to admit it, but coming back from a knockout can be complicated. There's the question of confidence, the memory of that moment, and the pressure to prove it was just a stumble, not a sign of decline. For Khalil, who's known for his mental toughness and disciplined lifestyle, that recovery process will define the next chapter of his career. Physically, he'll likely take a few months off. Medical suspensions after knockouts usually require it. And the UFC won't rush him back. He'll need time to fully clear all tests and let his brain and body reset. But once he's cleared, Rountree still has every reason to believe he can bounce back. His resume proves it. This is a man who's rebuilt himself more than once. From early career losses to fight cancellations and personal setbacks, he's always returned sharper, calmer, and more dangerous. As for what's next inside the cage, there are still plenty of big names waiting. Fighters like Volkan Ozdemir, Dominic Reyes, or even a rematch with Hill could all make sense when he's ready. The light heavyweight division remains wide open, and even though this loss hurts, it doesn't erase the progress he's made. Emotionally though, this is the real test. Rountree's fighting style has always been tied to his story. Discipline, redemption, self-control. That mindset could be what helps him rebuild again. Losing to someone like Jiri Prochazka, a former champion and elite finisher, isn't a career ender. It's a wake-up call, one that might push Rountree to refine his game, tighten his defense, and come back even stronger. And let's be honest, fans love a comeback story. If there's one thing the UFC has taught us, it's that the best redemption arcs are born from brutal nights like this one. So, what's next for Khalil Rountree? Rest, reflection, and, if history is any clue, redemption. Because if there's one thing we've learned about him, it's that he doesn't stay down for long. The question isn't if he'll come back, it's how much stronger he'll be when he does. And that's the reality of this sport. 1 second you're chasing a title, and the next, you're fighting just to stand again. Khalil Rountree's night at UFC 320 didn't end the way he planned, but it reminded everyone watching what this game truly takes. It's not just about power or precision, it's about courage. The kind of courage that makes you walk into that cage knowing anything can happen, and doing it anyway. For 2 rounds, Rountree stood toe-to-toe with a former champion in Jiri Prochazka, trading strikes, matching intensity, and showing he belonged among the best. But when that final left hand landed, it wasn't just the end of a fight, it was a moment that stopped time. The crowd went silent. Social media lit up, and for a few tense minutes, every fan had the same thought: please let him be okay. The good news is, he was. After being transported to the hospital, Rountree was alert and responsive. Shaken, yes, but stable. And that's where the story shifts. Because Khalil Rountree isn't defined by knockouts or rankings, he's defined by resilience. Every time he's been counted out, he's rebuilt himself. Every setback has turned into a comeback. That's why this loss doesn't feel like the end. It feels like the setup for something bigger. A new version of Rountree. Smarter, sharper, hungrier. The kind that rises from moments like this stronger than before. 'Cause that's what true fighters do. They find purpose in the pain. So if you were holding your breath when he went down, if you felt that chill when the cage fell silent, don't forget why we watch. It's not just for the knockouts, it's for the stories behind them. The human moments that remind us just how real this sport is. Khalil Rountree's road back starts now, and if you want to follow every step of that journey, from recovery to redemption, hit subscribe, drop a comment below wishing him a full recovery, and let's keep the conversation going, because in this game, there's nothing stronger than a fighter who refuses to stay down.